Picture this. It's late at night. The world outside your window is quiet, almost frozen. But inside your chest, there's a storm you can't silence. Your phone rests on the table beside you. You told yourself you wouldn't look at it again. You told yourself you wouldn't care this much. And yet, you do. Because not long ago, her messages came effortlessly. Her laughter felt warm. Her presence felt certain. You felt chosen, desired, important, and now something has shifted. You can't point to a single dramatic moment. There was no explosion, no betrayal, just a subtle cooling, a slight delay in replies, a softer tone, less enthusiasm, and suddenly you're questioning everything. You replay conversations in your head like a broken film reel. Did I say too much? Did I show too much? Did I love too much? That question sits heavy in your chest because no man wants to believe that loving deeply could make him less attractive. You were taught that love is proven through effort, that consistency wins hearts, that if you care, you show it fully. So you did. You made time. You prioritized her. You reassured her insecurities. You answered quickly. You opened up emotionally. You allowed yourself to be vulnerable. And at first, she seemed to appreciate it. She leaned closer. She smiled wider. She told you she felt safe. But slowly, quietly, something changed. Her eyes didn't light up the same way. Her energy felt distant. The tension that once sparked between you started to flatten. And the more you felt her pulling back, the more you leaned in. More texts, more effort, more emotional explanation. You tried to fix what you couldn't even clearly see. And here's the painful truth most men aren't prepared for. Sometimes the moment you start loving from fear of losing her is the moment attraction begins to fade. Not because she is heartless, not because you are weak, but because attraction has its own psychology, and it does not operate on fairness. Human desire is deeply connected to anticipation, to polarity, to emotional tension. Dopamine, the chemical responsible for longing, is triggered by uncertainty, by space, by the subtle dance between two independent people choosing each other. When that dance turns into pursuit driven by anxiety, the chemistry shifts. When your emotional state begins depending entirely on her validation, the dynamic quietly tilts. You stop standing beside her, you start orbiting her, and orbiting feels different. At first, she may enjoy the devotion. It feels flattering, comforting. But over time, if your world shrinks down to her approval, something inside her instinctively feels the weight. No one wants to carry someone else's entire emotional gravity. No one wants to feel responsible for another person's identity. A woman wants to feel desired, but not needed for survival. She wants to feel chosen, but not like the sole pillar holding you up. And when love starts to feel like pressure, even gentle pressure, something fragile begins to crack. Meanwhile, you're left confused, because in your mind you were doing everything right. You were loyal, consistent, open, honest. You weren't playing games, you weren't distant. You were present, fully present. But presence without self-containment becomes overexposure. Love without grounding becomes neediness. And neediness, no matter how pure the intention, changes attraction. This is where many men grow bitter. They conclude that caring is weakness, that vulnerability is a mistake, that women only respond to coldness. But that's not the lesson. The lesson is balance, strength with warmth, presence with independence, love with boundaries. The most magnetic version of you was never the man who overgave. It was the man who had direction, who had purpose, who had a life that moved forward regardless of who entered or exited it. Back then, your attention was valuable because it was not unlimited. Back then, you chose her, but you did not revolve around her. That energy feels different. It feels steady, calm, grounded. And grounded men don't panic when energy shifts. They observe, they adjust, they maintain their center. So if you're sitting in that quiet space right now, feeling the distance, feeling the confusion, feeling the ache, don't let it turn you into someone cold. Let it turn you inward. Ask yourself where you abandoned your own growth, where you paused your mission, where you started negotiating your own value for reassurance, then rebuild, not for revenge, not to prove a point, but to restore your foundation. Train your body, sharpen your discipline, strengthen your focus, reconnect with your purpose, expand your world again. Because when your life feels full on its own, love becomes an addition, not oxygen. And when you love from that place, something shifts. You don't grip tightly, you don't flood with reassurance, you don't chase constantly. You simply stand steady, and steady is powerful. Remember this. And steady is powerful. Remember this deeply. The right connection will not punish you for having boundaries. It will not fade because you have ambition. It will not crumble because you remain emotionally grounded. Real attraction respects strength. It thrives in balance. So stand tall, even if your heart feels heavy tonight. Stay disciplined, even if doubt whispers in your ear. Do not let one fading connection redefine your worth. You are allowed to love deeply, just never so deeply that you disappear. Because the strongest position a man can ever hold is this: I can care for you fully, but I will never abandon myself to keep you. And once you truly understand that, you stop fearing loss. You start embodying value. And from that place, love no longer feels like a battlefield. It feels like a choice. You meet her on an ordinary day that suddenly doesn't feel ordinary anymore. The way she looks at you makes you feel chosen. There's warmth in her voice, curiosity in her questions, softness in her smile, and something ancient inside you wakes up. You feel needed. You feel seen. So you lean in, you text her first. You stay up later just to hear her laugh one more time. You begin rearranging your world, slowly, subtly, without even noticing it. Because when a man feels connection, he invests, he protects, he gives. That's how we're wired. And at first, she responds to it. She appreciates it. She melts into it. It feels like the beginning of something real. But then something shifts. Not dramatically, not loudly, quietly. Her replies take longer. Her tone becomes neutral. The emojis disappear. The excitement fades into routine, and you feel it in your chest before you understand it in your mind. So you try harder. You give more reassurance, more attention, more emotional availability. You think love is proven through effort. You believe consistency will secure her heart. But what you don't realize, my friend, is that attraction doesn't grow from pressure. It grows from polarity. And when you start loving her from a place of fear instead of strength, the dynamic changes. Here's the truth most men are never told. A woman is emotionally drawn to a man who feels centered in himself. Not cold, not distant, but grounded. When you slowly make her the center of your emotional world, she feels that weight. It is subtle, almost invisible, but her nervous system detects it. Human attraction is deeply connected to uncertainty and anticipation. Dopamine, the chemical responsible for desire, is released in moments of unpredictability, in the space between messages, in the mystery of what comes next. When you become fully predictable, fully available, fully dependent on her response, the tension disappears. And without tension, desire struggles to survive. This does not mean she is cruel. It does not mean you are weak. It means both of you are human. Women are drawn to emotional strength the same way men are drawn to warmth and admiration. When she senses that your happiness rises and falls entirely on her behavior, something inside her pulls back. Not because she planned to, but because biologically, emotionally, she is wired to feel safest with a man who stands firm on his own feet. A man who chooses her, but does not need her to breathe. Think about the moments when she was most attracted to you. It was when you were focused on your goals, when you had plans, when you weren't constantly checking your phone, when your life felt full. Back then, your attention was valuable because it was not unlimited. Scarcity creates value. Overexposure reduces it. The more you flooded her with validation, the less powerful each word became. Compliments that once felt electric became expected. Effort that once felt romantic became routine. And routine in matters of passion can quietly turn into emotional flatness. From her side, she may not even understand what changed. She just feels less spark, less excitement, less emotional charge. She might tell herself she's confused. She might blame stress, timing, or compatibility. But often what she's feeling is the loss of polarity, the disappearance of that subtle edge that once made her heart beat faster. Meanwhile, you're left confused, replaying conversations in your mind, wondering which sentence ruined everything. The painful irony is that nothing dramatic happened. You simply gave too much of yourself without maintaining your center. A strong relationship is not built on emotional starvation, nor is it built on emotional flooding. It is built on balance, on two whole individuals choosing each other, not clinging to each other. When a man abandons his mission, his discipline, his friendships, his growth, all in the name of love, He slowly erodes the very qualities that made him attractive in the first place. And when attraction fades, no amount of logic can revive it. Desire is not negotiated, it is felt, it is instinctive, it responds to energy, not arguments. But here is where bitterness must transform into wisdom. The lesson is not to become cold. It is not to suppress emotion or play games. It is to love from strength instead of fear, to give without losing yourself, to care deeply while remaining grounded in your own purpose. When you maintain your independence, your emotional stability, your direction, something powerful happens. She feels safe, not because you are clinging to her, but because you are steady within yourself. And steadiness is magnetic. Every woman, like every man, wants to feel chosen, but not burdened, desired, but not responsible for someone's identity. When love feels like a gift, it flourishes. When it feels like pressure, it suffocates. And that difference is created not by how much you give, but by where you give from. If you love from abundance, she feels warmth. If you love from fear, she feels weight. So if you ever find yourself losing someone after giving your all, do not collapse into resentment. Do not harden your heart. Instead, step back into yourself. Rebuild your center. Strengthen your discipline. Expand your world. Because the truth is this: the right woman will not lose attraction to a man who remains strong while loving deeply. She will respect him. She will feel drawn to him, not because he withholds affection, but because he never abandons himself. And when you reach that place where you can care without clinging, give without shrinking, love without losing your identity, you will no longer fear someone walking away, because your foundation will not be built on her presence. It will be built on your own strength. And from that place, love becomes powerful again. Not desperate, not fragile, but steady and real. If you've ever loved someone so deeply that you forgot where you ended and they began, if you've ever replayed conversations at night wondering what you did wrong, if you've ever felt that quiet panic when their tone changed, when their warmth cooled, when the distance grew without explanation, understand this clearly: you are not weak for loving, you are not stupid for caring, and you are not broken because someone lost feelings. What hurts you is not just the loss of her, it's the loss of certainty, the loss of the future you imagined, the loss of the version of yourself that felt chosen. And that pain is real. But here's the deeper truth, the one most men never hear. Love becomes dangerous when it replaces your identity. The moment your mood depends, I can love you fully, but I will never abandon myself to keep you. And when you truly live by that, you don't just protect your heart, you elevate it.